In today's video, we're going to dive deep into the latest 2024 election forecast from Polymarket, which shows Donald Trump significantly outpacing Kamala Harris with less than a month to go before Election Day. As of now, Trump holds a commanding 55.4% chance of winning the presidency, according to the markets, while Harris's odds have been slipping, especially in the crucial battleground states that will determine the outcome of the race. In just the last couple of days, Trump has managed to flip several key states that Biden won in 2020, making this election increasingly look like an uphill battle for the Democrats. With only 26 days left until voters head to the polls, these developments are shaping the electoral map in ways that could lead to another Trump presidency. We'll start by analyzing the electoral landscape on the West Coast, where things are pretty much what you'd expect for Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party. Washington, Oregon, and California are still safely in the blue column. These states have long been Democratic strongholds, and Polymarket gives Harris at least a 95% chance of winning each of them. There's little surprise here as these states consistently deliver for Democratic candidates in presidential elections. California especially is a critical part of the Democrats' base as it provides a massive chunk of electoral votes. The combined total of electoral votes from Washington, Oregon, and California ensures that Harris has a firm foundation to build on. But these safe states alone won't be enough to get her to 270 electoral votes. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Now, moving just a bit east to Nevada, the story becomes far more complicated for Harris. While Nevada has traditionally leaned Democratic, it's now shaping up to be one of the most competitive states on the 2024 map. Joe Biden won Nevada by just over 2 points in 2020, and many expected that Harris, as his replacement on the ticket, would have a similarly strong showing. However, the latest numbers from Polymarket paint a very different picture. Right now, Harris holds a razor-thin 52% chance of winning the state, while Trump is nipping at her heels with 49%. In other words, the race in Nevada is essentially tied, with both candidates having nearly equal odds of winning. This is the only state where Harris is still favored, and even here, her lead is far from comfortable. The Silver State is classified as tilt blue based on the betting markets, but with such a narrow margin, it could easily flip to Trump in the final days of the campaign. Nevada is the type of state that could come down to a few thousand votes, and it will likely be one of the most closely watched on election night. Arizona is another state that has seen a dramatic shift in Trump's favor. Unlike Nevada, where the race is still very much up for grabs, Arizona seems to be moving solidly into Trump's column. Okay, according to Polymarket, Trump now has a 2 in 3 chance of winning Arizona, a state that Joe Biden narrowly won by just 0.3 in 2020. What's striking here is how poorly Kamala Harris has performed in Arizona throughout the campaign. Despite Arizona being a key battleground state, Harris has never led in the polls here. Even during the Democratic convention, when she experienced a brief surge in national polling, she was still trailing Trump in Arizona. This is a significant problem for the Democrats, as Arizona has been trending more purple in recent elections, and they were hoping to solidify their gains there. But with Trump now leading by 0.9 in the polling average, Arizona is becoming a tougher state for Harris to win. Trump's lead in the polls is a strong indicator that Arizona is leaning red, and it seems increasingly likely that Trump will carry the state this time around. On our map, Arizona is classified as lean red, and it's becoming one of the most reliable pickups for Trump in the 2024 election. Next, let's turn our attention to Colorado and New Mexico, two states that have remained solidly Democratic in recent election cycles. In Colorado, Polymarket gives Harris a 97% chance of winning, making it one of the safest states for the Democrats. Colorado has been trending more liberal over the years, and there's no indication that it will shift back to the Republicans in this election. Similarly, New Mexico is also firmly in Harris's camp with a 90% chance of winning. There was some speculation early on that Republicans might make a play for New Mexico, especially when Biden was still the Democratic nominee. However, now that Harris has replaced him, the Democrats have regained their footing in the state. With these strong leads, both Colorado and New Mexico are classified as safe blue and likely blue, respectively, giving Harris another solid block of electoral votes in the West. Moving to Texas, the story is much different. Texas remains a Republican stronghold, and Donald Trump has a 90% chance of winning the state. according to Polymarket. Throughout this election cycle, Texas has shown little sign of becoming competitive for the Democrats. Despite some early hopes that Texas might be in play, particularly after Beto O'Rourke's strong Senate campaign in 2018 and Biden's slightly improved performance in 2020, Trump's dominance in Texas has been consistent. He won the state in both 2016 and 2020, and there's little doubt that he'll win it again in 2024. Texas is classified as likely Republican, and Trump's substantial lead in the state makes it one of his most reliable sources of electoral votes. Now, let's look at the central part of the country, where Trump is expected to win by wide margins. States like Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota are all firmly in Trump's column with no real competition from Harris. These states are deeply conservative and have consistently voted Republican in presidential elections. Trump is also heavily favored in Kansas and Oklahoma, and he's expected to win all of Nebraska except for its second congressional district, which includes Omaha. Interestingly, Harris is favored to win Nebraska's second district with an 89% chance, making it a rare blue spot in an otherwise solid red state. Alaska, which has a long history of voting Republican, also remains in Trump's column with a 92% chance of going red. Meanwhile, Hawaii, as always, is firmly in the Democratic camp, with Harris expected to win the state easily. Overall, these central and western states provide Trump with a solid foundation of electoral votes. The Midwest is where things get particularly challenging for Kamala Harris. This region, often referred to as the Rust Belt, is crucial for any Democratic path to victory. In 2020, Joe Biden won key states in this region, such as Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, which helped him secure the presidency. But in 2024, Harris is struggling to maintain her footing in these must-win states. Let's start with Minnesota. Harris is still favored to win Minnesota with a 91% chance, according to Polymarket. However, this is lower than where she needs to be, considering that Minnesota has consistently voted for Democratic candidates in presidential elections since 1972. Biden won Minnesota by a comfortable margin in 2020, and Harris should be performing better here, especially since her running mate, Tim Walz, is the sitting governor of Minnesota. Despite these advantages, Harris's lead in the state is only about 4, which is closer than Democrats would like. While Minnesota remains classified as likely blue, the tighter than expected race here could be a sign of trouble for the Democrats, particularly if other Rust Belt states start to slip away. In Wisconsin, things have already taken a turn for the worse for Harris. Trump has officially flipped the state, according to Polymarket, and while the race is extremely close, Trump is now slightly ahead. This marks the first time that Trump has led in Wisconsin since early August, and the shift could signal a broader trend in the Midwest. Harris still has a 0.4 lead in the polling average, but recent surveys show a much more competitive race. Out of the 8 new polls from Wisconsin, 3 have Trump ahead, 3 have Harris ahead, and 2 show a tie. Given the volatility of the race, Wisconsin is now classified as tilt red, and it's one of the key battlegrounds where Trump is gaining momentum. Michigan, the most liberal of the Rust Belt states, has also flipped Trump in the latest betting markets. Joe Biden won Michigan by nearly 3 points in 2020, but Trump now leads in the polling average by about 1. Michigan's shift to the right is significant, as it's one of the states that Democrats have long relied on as part of their blue wall. If Harris can't hold on to Michigan, her chances of winning the election are slim. Polymarket gives Trump a 52% chance of winning Michigan, compared to Harris's already not, making the state tilt red on our map. This flip is a major blow to the Harris campaign, as Michigan is one of the most important swing states in this election. Finally, let's look at Pennsylvania. Perhaps the most crucial battleground state of all. Trump now has a 56% chance of winning Pennsylvania, and he has taken the lead in the polling average by 0.3. Pennsylvania is often seen as the tipping point state, meaning that whichever candidate wins here is likely to win the entire election. Trump's improving position in Pennsylvania is a major development, and the state is now classified as lean Republican. If Trump holds on to Pennsylvania, it's hard to see how Harris can make up the difference elsewhere. Looking at the rest of the Midwest, Trump is heavily favored in both Iowa and Ohio. He has a 93% chance of winning Iowa and a 92% chance of winning Ohio, making both states likely Republican. Meanwhile, Illinois remains safely blue, while Indiana is solidly red. As we move to the Northeast, Kamala Harris still has strong leads in most of the states in this region. She's expected to win New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, and other reliably Democratic states. However, New Hampshire and Maine are a bit more competitive. Harris has an 87 chance of winning New Hampshire and an 88 chance in Maine, making both states likely blue. Maine's second congressional district, however, is expected to go to Trump, similar to Nebraska's second district being the exception in an otherwise red state. In the South, Donald Trump is expected to dominate. He holds commanding leads in Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, and other southern states that have historically voted Republican. Virginia is more competitive, but still favors Harris with an 89 chance of going blue, making it likely blue. And meanwhile, North Carolina and Georgia are both leaning towards Trump, with North Carolina classified as lean Republican and Georgia falling into the same category. Finally, Florida, which has been a critical swing state in past elections, is no longer competitive. Trump holds a 90 chance of winning Florida, which is classified as likely Republican. In conclusion, based on the latest forecast from Polymarket, Donald Trump is projected to win 306 electoral votes, while Kamala Harris is expected to fall short with just 232 electoral votes. Trump's momentum has been building rapidly, particularly in the Rust Belt states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, where he has managed to flip key battlegrounds that Biden won in 2020. There's just 26 days remaining until Election Day. The Harris campaign faces an uphill battle to regain lost ground, while Trump appears to be on a clear path to victory.